What is up, Internet? Kyle here, Slapshot Toys, doing another Hot Toys review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the movie masterpiece, sorry, the television, or maybe it should be streaming masterpiece, but it is labeled as the television masterpiece, Daredevil, from the Netflix Daredevil series. Now, I was able to order this figure from Sideshow Collectibles directly. At the time of recording this video, it is still available on their website. I will have the link to this figure in the description below if you guys want to pick it up. But as you can tell, I'm just a little bit of a Daredevil fan, so I'm super excited to take a look at this figure. So let's not delay that any further. To the light box. Now, normally I don't show the packaging in my reviews, but once again, Hot Toys has done something really cool, much like they did with Doctor Strange for the Daredevil packaging, and I just think this is absolutely awesome. So they actually put actual Braille here along the packaging, along there in the front and on the side. And apparently from some of the comments I'm seeing on the Syndicate and some other places, that's not something entirely original, but it's just something I thought was really cool and a really nice touch for this figure. And here is Daredevil out of the packaging. Now, my first impressions were that this is a very, very, very good representation of the Netflix Daredevil. Now, there are some issues that I do have with this figure, and there are some things that I'm wondering about long term, whether or not the figure will actually hold up. But I'll go through all that when I actually go through the small details of the figure. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories. First accessory I do want to take a look at is going to be the stand. Now, this is a fairly nice, pretty standard stand that we have gotten with most Hot Toys. Nice thing that we do get is this very nice kind of texture detail of a road right there. Got some kind of nice little glossy kind of marks to simulate the puddles on the road. That looks really nice. Now we do just get the standard cradle, and this does extend up and down depending on how you want to pose Daredevil. And we have this really nice plaque there with a nice little cityscape with the Daredevil logo etched out very nicely there. So Hot Toys has actually given us something a little bit unique with this stand that I really kind of like. So we're actually given two separate pieces. We're given this is plain black kind of brick, and what that does is actually will just sit directly behind the stand. And then we were also given this kind of like little sidewalk, so we get this really nice kind of crumbling brick wall. That looks fantastic. Got those nice little broken pipes right there. Those look fantastic. Love all the detail and the paint work with that. That just looks absolutely beautiful. All the brickwork, I mean, just the sculpting in this is fantastic. Looks like we have some kind of broken glass. Some more of that kind of glossy kind of paint to simulate kind of, I guess, the wetness of the rain. That looks really cool. And what that actually does is just sit right here on top of this black little brick. And then we actually get a little kind of almost like a dioramic piece. I don't really know why they went with this kind of three pieces instead of just making the one dioramic base. Other than if you don't want to display with it, you don't have to. I think all three of the pieces together make a really cool, really dynamic looking stand. The other thing that we are given is this kind of cardboard backdrop where we get the Marvel Daredevil logo and then kind of just like a city street design. And honestly, I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to take it out of the package. I honestly think it's kind of cheap. You have a $200+ figure, and then Hot Toys gives us this little cheap cardboard backdrop. I just think they look kind of cheap, but this does come with a figure as well as a display option. We're actually given 3 full sets of hands with this figure. We have the closed fists, which are currently on the figure. We have these open hands, and then we have these hands specifically for holding the batons. Taking a closer look at this open hand, these things are just sculpted absolutely beautifully. So you get this real nice kind of burgundy red there on the back. A lot of black detail all throughout. That looks really good. Love the kind of like knuckles there they did on the back. Those look awesome. And then coming around here, you get all the little kind of sculpting work where the actual gloves would bend there on the knuckles. That looks really, really good. And then coming around to the bottom, I really, really, really like that kind of honeycomb grip design that they put throughout the inside of the palm. I think that looks absolutely fantastic. Once again, you get those kind of burgundy spots there along the top of the fingers, even on the inside. These things are just sculpted extremely, extremely nicely. And then these baton holding hands, it's fairly simple. All you gotta do is just slide in the baton. They hold extremely well and very, very snug. As far as the baton, we are actually given 3 different options. So we have this full, just regular staff baton where it's all connected. And these things are sculpted beautifully. Really, really like the silver work here with like the little kind of black little etching there along the silver. That looks really, really good. I love the texturing detail that they have in this burgundy parts where he would actually hold it. I think that just looks absolutely fantastic. And then here on the end, just get that real nice shiny chrome silver. And then we are also given the broken apart baton, so we can hold one each hand, and these are also the ones that fit into the holster on Daredevil's leg. Now, the only issue I am having with the holster seems extremely, extremely, extremely snug. Almost to the point where I'm afraid I'm going to start rubbing paint off these. That's how tight it is. And I'm really having to push and pull to get it in and out. So that's one thing I'm a little bit worried about, is just how that's going to last if I change the poses up. And some of them I want the batons in the hand. Sometimes I want it in the holster. I'm a little bit afraid that it's not going to hold up and they're going to start getting a lot of paint chipping, especially off those two broken pieces. And then we end with this kind of nunchuck baton where we do have this nice little wire holding them together. Now, I do feel like Hot Toys missed a very, very good opportunity to make this a bendy wire so it actually could hold a pose. Unfortunately, we just get this soft little normal wire, so it's not something that's actually posable. I really feel like Hot Toys could have really knocked this accessory out of the park if it would have just been something that would have actually held a pose. And that's the only accessories that we do get with this figure. Honestly, as far as Hot Toys go, this is probably the least amount of accessories that I've gotten with one of my figures, and it's lacking just a little bit, in my honest opinion. And last but not least, we have the alternate face sculpt. This is with the Matt Murdock grimacing and the obviously blood marks there on the nose, mouth, and cheek. And both sculpts look absolutely fantastic. I mean, especially for only having half the face, I think that they nailed Charlie Cox's look just brilliantly. I really like everything, especially in the mouth and the 5 o'clock shadow. I really feel like it just captures the way Charlie Cox looks in the cowl of Daredevil. And this one is just, I mean, just look at those teeth, look at that expression, look at the paint apps there for the 5 o'clock shadow. That just looks absolutely stunning. And just taking a closer look at the normal sculpt, once again, I just think that just absolutely nails the look of Charlie Cox as Daredevil. And actually how you change out the faceplate is super simple. All you gotta do is pull up here on the mask. It was going a lot easier earlier, but I was trying to do it fairly carefully. You just pop out the faceplate, and then you get this kind of, almost like kind of little, I don't know, hole, like little punch out right there, and that just slides right on that piece right there. And then all you gotta do is just slide back on the helmet. And simple as that. Taking a closer look actually at the figure now, I feel like Hot Toys just absolutely nailed the suit from season 2. And I mean, it's just absolutely a brilliant design. So what we have here as far as the helmet, this looks absolutely fantastic. So this is like kind of like a, almost like a matte. I know I'm getting a lot of kind of glare from the lights, but it's not as shiny as I think what the lights are kind of showing off. But it's more kind of like a matte kind of finish to it. But just all that work there with all the black, that looks fantastic. Love like all the different pieces of the armor. That just looks really, really cool. They have that all sculpted out all throughout the helmet. And then if we go down here, kind of like the neck portion, you get that real nice kind of almost like carbon fiber texture. That looks fantastic throughout. Already kind of covered the face, but I just think that just looks absolutely like Charlie Cox. And then you get that really, really, really nice translucent red there in the eyes. Coming down to the suit. So this is where I'm starting to run into a little bit of issues and kind of questioning exactly how long this figure is going to last if I move him around quite a bit. So what we get here is just a lot of kind of individual pieces all glued together, it seems. So I absolutely love this red that they used. I think it did that perfect shade of burgundy, and then I love that texture. So you get this like really nice kind of like, just almost like kind of braided material texture in there, and that just looks fantastic. You get all these pieces of this black armor plating that just looks fantastic, and once again you get some really nice texture detail in there. My only concern is it does look like most of these are all just glued on, so I'm a little bit nervous as far as moving, you know, the waist and things like that, that it could possibly fall off at some point. That is one concern I do have about this figure, but I mean, it just looks absolutely fantastic. And then kind of going over here, once again, you get the straps there up on the shoulders. Those look really good. Get the elbow pads right there. That looks really cool. Back of the figure, just more of the black and the red, kind of different plates and everything like that. That looks really, really good. Not a whole lot going on the arms. Most of it's, as you can see here, turns into the black. You get the little elbow pad there, all kind of detailed out. That looks really nice. The burgundy and black cuffs, and then you get the gloves that I showed you in the accessories part. Look really good. Coming down to the legs, you get just more of the black and the burgundy. You get a couple more like kind of straps all detailed out there, and you can see here there's a little bit of glue there. These are the other parts that I'm kind of worried about possibly coming off at some point, depending on how much you pull at the material. And you get the baton holster right there. That looks really good, and that is its own separate piece, so it does move just a little bit. And that's detailed out nicely with the different straps, and even like kind of got the different materials there. That looks really nice. And then the other really big thing I'm already seeing are these knee pads. So if you kind of see here, they're definitely just glued on, much like Deadpool was. And I'm really afraid, depending on how much you actually like, you can see here it's already kind of coming up just a little bit. I'm really afraid that depending on how many times I move the knees and things like that, that those are just going to pop off because it looks like they're just glued on. So that is a little bit of a concern I have with this figure, but I kind of plan on keeping him in a fairly museum pose, just kind of looking over the city. I think that's how this figure looks best so far of what I've come up with posing him around. And then the other issue I do have is the boots. As you can see here, from there it doesn't look too bad, but what we actually did for the articulation, and I'll cover this more in the articulation, but they actually made a cut there in the boot. So it's not like normally Hot Toys are one solid boot, and the articulation kind of is limited because of that. I don't know why they decided for Daredevil to actually put that cut in there, but to me that just kind of takes away a little bit from the realness factor of Hot Toys. I mean, one of the reasons I buy them is for the soft goods, it looks like the real suit used in the movie. And unfortunately with that cut there, while it's fairly invisible, but for someone like me that's really looking at these things, it kind of bothers me that there's a cut there, and it kind of takes away that sense of this is a real costume. And that's just my personal opinion. So I kind of wish they would have just given us the normal boots instead of doing that cut, because it's not really that dynamic a character. And when I'll show you in the articulation, the suit just doesn't allow that much mobility anyway. But taking a look at the boots themselves, they're detailed out beautifully. I mean, you get like all this kind of like padding work there that looks really, really good. I mean, you get like the straps on here on the inside, that's all detailed, and you get like all the little stitching marks and everything. It just looks absolutely gorgeous. The combat tread at the bottom looks fantastic as well. So taking a closer look actually at the articulation on the figure, the head motion is actually pretty good. He can actually look back quite a bit, as well as look forward quite a bit. And then actually what they have done is it rotates here actually at the neck below the collar line, so you don't get any motion like actually like at the actual neck. But I think that honestly this works just as well and looks extremely nicely when you're trying to tilt his head and do things like that. I think that works really, really well. As far as his arms, they can go out about that far, about 90 degrees, but I'm really starting to get some pull there on the fabric, so I really don't want to go any further than that. But there is fairly good range of motion there before the costume comes into play. He does have a bicep swivel here at the top of the bicep. He is double jointed here at the elbow, but once again, unfortunately, you start kind of getting a lot of bunching like up in here in the costume, and I'm afraid that leaving it in that kind of bunched pose, that with the texture much like Deadpool, you're going to start seeing some kind of wear and tear at the elbow joints. Now as far as the waist, there is a waist swivel in there, and this is actually, it looks like, so the pants and the jacket are actually two different pieces, so it can rotate just a little bit. There's a little bit there. As far as an ab crunch, he actually can go forward quite a bit, but unfortunately you get that kind of weird folding there in the front of the jacket, and then he can go back quite a bit as well, but you do get bunching there in the back. And that's probably my biggest issue with some of the articulation, is depending on how you have him pose, you're going to get a lot of that bunching, unfortunately, since it's all like kind of one solid suit. Now as far as the legs, he can only go about that far, and as you can see, it's really starting to pull there in the crotch area, so I definitely want to go any further than that because I don't want to rip the pants at all. As far as there is a upper thigh cut there, so he does rotate here, there, up the upper thigh. He is double jointed at the knees. Gets fairly good range of motion there, but once again, just a little bit worried about keeping that in that type of pose just too long. And also those knee pads I'm really worried about as well. Now, as far as the feet, they actually do rotate here at the top of the boot. There is ankle pivot, and it goes up and down and can go side to side. So that is going to do it for my review of the Television Masterpiece Series Netflix Daredevil action figure from Hot Toys. Now, I absolutely love this figure. The more I've messed around with it, the more I just love the aesthetic of it. But I am a massive Daredevil fan, and I love the suit and the series on Netflix. If you're not a huge Daredevil fan, if you're not a big fan of the suit in the show, if you're not a fan of the show in general, this probably isn't a figure that you're going to want to get. If you're looking for your first hot toy, or a hot toy that really just kind of shows off how magnificent they are, and you want something that when someone walks in, looks at your collection, just goes, wow, that's a hot toy. This one definitely has all those characteristics, but it's not Doctor Strange. It's not some of the Batman. It's not even like an Iron Man or Captain America. This is a very kind of focused figure that really is for the fans of Daredevil and the Netflix TV show. So if you are a huge fan, I can't recommend this figure enough. Like I said, the more that I mess around with it, there are definitely some flaws and some things that I wish Hot Toys would have done differently, and I'm very curious to see how it's going to hold up over the long haul. Like I said, I'm not going to keep it in this dynamic of a pose. I'm actually going to keep it in something very, very simple, so it's not bunched up and things like that. So, but if you are looking for kind of just a centerpiece to your Daredevil collection, and you do like the Netflix Daredevil series, I highly, highly, highly recommend this figure. But if you're just kind of on the fence on the series or Daredevil in general, I would say this is probably a pass for you. This is definitely for a die-hard Daredevil collector. Like I said, and the only other thing I do wish is it did come with a lot more accessories. I feel like there's just, for how many like Doctor Strange and other figures have come with, this is very lacking on the accessory front. So once again, that is going to do it for me this evening. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out these videos. It really does mean a lot to me you guys are watching them. If you guys did like this video, make sure you guys give it a big thumbs up. And please go ahead and leave a comment. I love interacting with you guys. And go ahead and subscribe that way you don't miss out on any future content. And that's going to do it for me this evening. Thank you guys so much. I'll catch you later. See ya.